Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my monologues. Has technology in the last 100 years, say, been of benefit to us or more of a hindrance? That's the question I want to mull over in today's video. But before we get there, there's a couple of events going on. So I've been asked to just give them a bit of a plug. So let's see what there is. So there's a special event for people serious about the protection of their property. Law that is common, it says, and common law event. So this is going to be up here in Buxton area on the 24th, I think it is, of May 2006. The doors open from 9:20 until 5. And you can find out all sorts of things. The presentation is a premier event for people who are serious about protecting their property. Remember, one's body is also property. So do get in touch with that. I'll leave a link in the description. I think it's an email address actually that you need to contact. The second one that I wanted to show you is Discover Legal Tech Innovation with Willoughby Genius. And we talked about this on the show in one of my interviews. But there is an event happening on the 11th of January 2026 at 1:30. Doors open at 1. And you can find out all about the Willoughby Genius app, legal protection platform, and its biometric data protection aspect. It is at the Bethersden Village Hall, Forge Hill, Bethersden in Kent. And if you want to attend that, then I think you can probably just turn up at the door. Donations at the door are welcome. So there we go. You may fancy, if you can, if it's in your area, to go and have a look at those. I dare say there'll be more events up and down the country, and hopefully the lovely Julia and I may even be out doing some book promotion for Biggleswick, and you may be able to get a signed copy from us if you wish. Of course, I'll let you know how to get a copy of Biggleswick at the end of the video. So has technology in the last 100 years been a benefit or more of a hindrance to us? I mean, technology, of course, is always going to come. People are going to improve things. That's the nature of the human mind, isn't it? To make things better and easier to deal with. However, it is possible, of course, that when things technically have been advanced, they can be used, like most things, for the better for mankind, or perhaps to our detriment. And maybe we don't think of technology ever being to our detriment, although many of us now are facing the prospect of having to say no thank you to things like digital ID, or even the CBDCs, the central bank digital currency, that many of us feel will be the end of private purchasing. And so technologies, even in those two simple examples, can be pushed into an area where it's sold as a convenience and a benefit to us, but is it actually really? But I want to go back in history. There's three areas of history I just want to think about just a little bit. One, of course, is personal transportation. It is absolutely a benefit for us to be able to jump in your car, drive to somewhere, rather than have to get on a horse and cart, because you can get there in hours or minutes rather than days or months. Same with jumping on a boat or indeed flying. And of course, people have flown all over the world and they've had holidays and it's fantastic. You can see your relatives and all of that is brilliant. But it seems to me that all this technology does come with a bit of a darker side, because that same technology, the flying, not only enables us to go on holiday and sort of, let's say, non-important things. They are very important to people who are going on holiday, of course, because in this world of stress, you need to have a break and get out into the sun and get some vitamin D, etc. But more sinister, of course, aeroplanes have been used, and that business from the last 100 years, to, as we see them crisscrossing up in the sky, spraying with all sorts of chemtrails and littering the world with lots of poisons which cause us problems. Of course, drones, which also do a similar thing, and smaller aircraft have been used in war, and it makes warfare very, very nasty indeed. I mean, let's face it, in the First World War, people just were in the trenches. That was bad enough, and how uncomfortable all of that must have been. In the Second World War, however, the war was brought to the home ground. So down here where I live on the south coast, we would have seen the German Nazi aeroplanes, the Luftwaffe, flying over and bombing us. In fact, I'm working on a book based on that very idea and comparing that with today. And in due course, I'll tell you about that. Yeah, so aeroplanes and fighters and things have caused a lot of distress. Drones naturally can now go and fly to places and just take places out, blow them up very easily. So on the one level, on a personal level, flying has been fantastic for holidays and things like that, or even business. But the downside has been that it can be used for huge amounts of wrong. And again, if you look in the health industry, we used to rely on plants. We used to rely on the wise women. We relied on people like Culpeper, who was a herbalist, and other Hippocrates, who would mix these amazing plants and produce poultices and balms and creams and various ointments and tinctures that would help people. And then along comes the pharmaceutical boys, who decide that oil is the only method that we are going to rescue people with. And so pharmacology, if it's known as that, comes along, and science comes in and says all this other stuff, that's rubbish, you know, that's sort of myth and old woman's tales and not really worth taking any note of. You should be following this. And hence, of course, we've seen the advent of vaccines. We've seen all sorts of little white pills which people are put on and stay on, and half the time don't even know why they're on them and don't even know what they're doing. We've seen the increase of massive hospitals in which men in white coats and women in nurses' uniforms, and of course women in white coats, of course, let's not be sexist here. I'm just stereotypical, I'm afraid. But those sort of people are taking an authority and telling people, well, this is what you need. This is good for your health. Now, I'm not blaming the doctors and the nurses of themselves. They've been trained as part of a somewhat, in my mind, wrong system. And so therefore, the health industry has been moved away from the natural health, holistic health, thinking about the body all together and how things work all together, rather than just looking at those one symptom and then a pill for that, which comes, as we know, with copious amounts of side effects, including death. And you do wonder why people would take those things when perhaps a little bit of a herbal remedy might take a bit longer, it might be more gentler, would be better. So the health industry has been captured by technology to be able to produce pills at a rapid rate, to be able to deliver them, and so on. And perhaps the older, slower methods have now pretty much died out. Although, of course, fortunately, there are a number of people waking up to what was not a very good thing, and beginning to think, actually, perhaps there is something in this alternative medicine after all. And to call it alternative is sort of a bit of a joke, really, because it was the original medicine, of course. And the other area that I wanted to pick up on is the farming area, food, principally. We've seen in the last 100 years technology advance for the farmer, things like tractors. Not just your beautiful and lovely little grey Fergies that a farmer could fix with one or two tools in the field and get it going, and those amazing little tractors and others of that age are still being used today and are still being maintained very easily. But we've seen how farmers have been encouraged to upgrade all the time till you get to the obscene size of tractors that we see now with the massive ploughs. We've seen how the farming, which was a way of life and which the village used to get involved with it, that everybody knew what was in season, that people were part of the farm, whether they were labourers or whether they were coming in and gleaning from the fields. And we have seen now these farms as no-go areas for the public. Keep on the bridle path, don't let your dog off the lead. We've seen the hedgerows pulled out, we've seen massive fields, and we've seen the monoculture of a single crop in one field that requires artificial fertilizer because the soil is so depleted of all the natural minerals and its life and the microbiome that goes underneath it all. And of course we've seen them also spray more poisons to stop the growth of certain crops so that they can harvest it in their massive machines. And then we've seen how instead of people having a local grocery that was connected or supplied by the local farms, and the people would go to their local grocery and be eating healthy, organic by just nature, not by giving it a label, food that was from their area, and they would know if Farmer Joe over there is not feeding his pigs very well. You know, the people would know who was abusing their animals and who wasn't. And you'd have the village grocer, you'll be eating locally, your provenance of course is local, you'll be eating seasonally, and you took those raw ingredients and you would take them home and you would make a meal out of it. But of course we've seen technology have this processed food in which that whole earthy, basic human right to make your own food, to give it the loving as you make that food, and then break bread and eat your meal with your family and round the table. We've seen that just eroded to the point now that people are eating in front of screens in different rooms. They're eating processed food in the advent and the huge march of the supermarkets who are now ruling the roost, and then they are taking food and having it much more appealing by shoving it in boxes, and so that you can microwave it, or the fruit is beautiful to look at but has no vitamins and minerals. It's not actually very healthy for you. And of course the other stuff is full of colouring and flavourings and e-numbers and this, that and the other in processing. It's been in the fridge for donkey's years and it comes out at the last minute, and in its last gasp you see it and you buy it and you think you're eating healthily. We've seen how fast food chains up and down the country are just wasting food, people coming back from nightclubs and things fancying a bit of munches. And they'll eat half a chicken and the rest will either be regurgitated on the floor or indeed chucked in a bin. Has that technology that we've got helped us or hindered us? And I would argue, on the whole, the balance of life is too fast. The balance of what we're here to do, to thrive and enjoy the experience, is taken away from us because we're so busy trying to shortchange everything. If I can microwave my food and have it in 5 minutes rather than actually spend perhaps an hour bringing all the ingredients together from the local area and have something that's whole, nutritious, and be in the moment and enjoy it. What I've got now, that hour, I've got 55 minutes to what? Sit and doom scroll or go on AI and be told, well, who knows whether it's true, a pack of lies, or a mixture of both, or just to sit there at a screen and basically vegetate. I would argue that technology has not been, on the whole, a better thing for us. Of course, I'm not arguing that there is technology that is useful to us. Look at me sitting here, just recording straight into a video camera and plonking it on YouTube very easily and effortlessly. And I grant you, technology has, of course, had a benefit. But is it that nefarious people have taken that technology and dumbed us down to the point that we don't see the bits that are beneficial and the bits that are really entrapping us? That would be my thoughts on this. You may have completely different thoughts and you're very welcome to have them. And you may want to share them in the comments, and you'll be very welcome, of course. Try and be polite and try and be nice to one another. It makes for a much better world. I know some people get very angry. And one of the things in my book, Biggleswick, is that the people in there do start to ask about technology. Is it of benefit to us? These 5G towers that suddenly emerged in Biggleswick town centre, who asked for them? What benefit are they? We're told we're having them, and there doesn't seem to be any tests to know whether it's healthy or not. These are the questions that the people in Biggleswick start to ask when they realise that things are not quite as they would like them, and they ask themselves about the technology through the ages. If you're interested in reading my novel, Biggleswick, The Town That Wouldn't Comply, it's not available on Amazon. People keep emailing me saying, Richard, I can't find your book. It's not on Amazon, or it's not on Barnes and Noble, or it's not. It isn't. It doesn't like corporations very much, the Biggleswick book. And so I had to print it myself, well, with a local company. It's a very nice edition, and publish it myself. So it's only available through me. richard@vobes.com is my email address. If you'd like to buy a copy, I will happily put one in the post to you. I will send you the information on how much it is and where to purchase it and blah, 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 and how to pay for it, etc. So there we are. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back to a little bit of convalescing whilst I sort my body out. But in the meantime, have a lovely day and look after yourself and use your technology wisely. Till next time, bye-bye.